Inclusive prosperity, such an important topic. We're going to try to make sure we know what prosperity is, I think. We're going to be sure to try to define inclusiveness in the corporate sense. And Tom, I want to start with you. You have, I think you have something of a bone to pick, is how I'm going to try to provoke you here. You think business needs to do better with its mindset, and I'd appreciate it if you would kick things off by explaining to people what your thinking is there.
Well, I think we need to do a better job of defining what our role is in society. We clearly have to make money for our shareholders or whoever gives us our money, whether it's your family or other investors, and that comes with the territory. But I think we give ourselves a pass by letting it stop there. I think if you look at what society expects from us, they expect us to create dignity through work. So I think it was Jamie or somebody said, 85% of jobs are private sector jobs. Like, if not us, then who? So that's what society expects of us. I think we also need to make sure free markets work. I think it's easy for us to say our own interests are served well, but then if the market doesn't take care of it, take trade, for example. We need to fix that. Like, if it's not working at the local level, we need to fix it. And I think we need to be a force for good. And I think we need to define ourselves that way. I think we need to have the intestinal fortitude to do it. And if we have to make trade-offs for shareholder value, that just comes with the territory.
No, but share with everyone, you're concerned that if we don't, I think you've used the word license, that the business could lose its license. And that's a strong word to use. Explain what you mean.
Well, so as corporations, we have rights, right? We can enter into a contract, we can hire people, we can trade across borders. We have a right of free speech. And those rights are granted to us by society. And they give them to us because they think we do something for society. To the extent we don't live up to their expectations, they can change them. And 87% of Americans today think that businesses should do more than just make money. And to the extent we don't do that, they'll change our license. It could be increased regulation, could be higher taxes, could be they just change the form altogether. There's no reason that corporations have to exist in history. And I think if we don't get about it, we risk losing our license. And that gives us the ability to make a difference in the world. And that's what most business people are trying to do. It's what everybody here is trying to do. And if we lose that license, then we don't get to do what we were put here for, which is to make a difference.
I'm going to shift to Hamdi in a moment, and I'm going to ask, I'm going to come back to some examples of and specifics, and also what you're doing with the U.S. Chamber. Would you just let's bring everyone down just a little bit more before we bring them up, Tom. Well, you ticked off increased taxes, increased regulation. Yeah. What's the worst case scenario if we continue down this path without rectifying the situation?
Maybe I could do, can I do another question?
You're totally welcome to redirect.
How about the best case option is that it's, think of it, this is an open market. There's this huge pile of problems in the world, and we can fix them. And like, that's what we do. And that's what I get jazzed up about. That's what you get up and go to work every day. You get up to work to make a difference, get something done. And so, I think there is the risk. The risk is not going to be dramatic in the next week, the next 2 weeks. This kind of stuff just happens. There's a great line about a guy who goes bankrupt, and it says, how'd you go bankrupt? Guy says, gradually, then suddenly. How'd you get divorced? Gradually, then suddenly, right? Like, it just kind of happens. So I think gradually, then suddenly it could go away. But I think really this is an opportunity for us. This is a chance where we can get in. There's nobody else in the world. The governments can't do it. Nonprofits can't do it. It's not that they're not trying, but this is like a market waiting for our skills.
Or we'll come back to the two entities that you're.
I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer.
No, I know you. I appreciate that you don't want to be, and I've read and experienced that CEOs are optimists by nature, or else they wouldn't be CEOs, right? I like the fact of the juxtaposition. We have a very established company CEO. We have a relatively new company CEO in your company, Chobani. Hamdi, tell everybody how you've approached this topic of inclusive prosperity as an entrepreneur and as a CEO and as an employer.
First of all, this this conference is amazing. I mean, the topic is amazing, and being around, these powerful CEOs and amazing companies is honored to be. The impact of the CEO or the company or the business or the brand, in my experience, is above and beyond anything, including politicians, including NGOs. It's pretty powerful because I saw it in my own eyes what happened in upstate New York in our first plant. And then Jamie mentioned Twin Falls. By just the act of business, it has a tremendous amount of impact. Now, if you add a little bit edge to it, then it becomes something else. In our experience in upstate New York, we started from a closed factory. And when companies leave, I know it takes a long time to close a place or leave from the place, but what the impact does in the community is after that is it goes beyond losing job. It goes into the morale, it goes into the planning, it goes into all sorts of things, and including take it personal. People take it personally. It's like, I'm not good enough. Why did they leave me after 70 years or 50 years?
Sure.
Now, my approach was, okay, I'm going to build this back. I can't do it alone. And while I'm building this back, can I make it better than what it was before? And can I make them happy that this actually happened, that they closed it? Because every crisis is an opportunity to make things even better than ever before. My first department I ever built in my first year was community engagement. That was my assistant. Assistant and I, we took on a project, and we didn't want to go to the community and say, hey, why don't you do this? We waited for them to come to us, and they did. They said, well, we don't have a little league field, and we're about 25, 30 minutes from Cooperstown. You know Cooperstown, they got the best baseball fields in there. And our town didn't. And they just wanted to have a grass and cut the grass and make some line. And I said, Cassie, let's see if we can make it better than that. And I lived in Cooperstown, and I have never been to the baseball fields there, but I said, I know there's really good baseball fields. Let's make something better than that one.
Better than where the Hall of Fame is.
Exactly. And it says, well, this is the first ever project we're getting on because we have commitment to 10% and we have some money and we want to do it. The project was $20,000 with the local people. We got everybody involved, the contractors, the light and the electricians and everybody. We built a field. It was better than the one in Cooperstown. Still is up there. And one of the finest moments in my life was those kids, Tom, was asking me to sign this jersey. I didn't understand what they were asking me, but they were actually signing me. And still today, one of our strongest departments is the community engagement. Don't own the community, be next to them. And when they ask something or when they want to do something, how can we collaborate together to make it better? What our community is feeling right now is not, forget about they abandoned us. We're good, we're better, we are producer of this finest yogurts, or we are faster than anybody, or my point is the first act of business is the conscious of the community, conscious of the people in the company, and then you can widen it after.
What made you decide to give away 10% of the shares of your company, or was it 10% of your shares?
That was, the 10% was in the beginning for the profit, and then after that, the first 5 years when we went through this journey of building this company, I live in the community and I saw it is, okay, you pay above the minimum wage, you pay above everybody else, you have the same insurance, full coverage, you do profit sharing, you do the bonuses, but I'm still making the math, and it's not perfect. It's really difficult to live with that kind of wages. And with a broken factory to this level, I can't take all the credits. I didn't do everything. I've done with people. We slept on the floor together. We drove trucks together. We walked together. How is it that I am getting all of that, and everybody else who's been there for the last 5 years is only benefiting because they have the job? That's not enough. But I couldn't promise because I was on the edge all the time, and I could lose everything, but I was taking so many risks. When it came to the place, which was in my mind, I said, everybody in this company who helped me to build this company needs to be a partner of this company, and they need to share the success of this company, and they can also rely on having the retirement somehow secured with something that they have helped build. And do you know what the biggest challenge was? Was without acting like a public company, how do I give partnership to 2,000 people? And then I hired lawyers.
Because this is America.
Right. And it took me a year and a half, something that I didn't want to give up. And when I announced it, the impact that I didn't do it just the impact, we were already had an amazing culture. You know, having people stake at something that they have built and go there to families and children and saying, this is my company. And looking at the social side of it and say, okay, income inequality going crazy between CEOs and the factory workers, the gap or the owners is never been this wide. And if you look at, especially in the middle of the country where people are losing jobs and factories are closing, and when this is coming up, it's just a circle that you don't see how this is going to, how this is going to stop. I see this is the only option.
And excuse me, I read that you were tired of nagging people to participate in their 401ks, and not completely successfly, right? People weren't contributing at the level you wanted.
No.
Tom, I want you to first tell everybody how you approach this topic specifically at Allstate, and then share with us why you've taken on the role you have at the U.S. Chamber and what your hopes and dreams are there.
Well, first, it's an inspiring story. I wish I owned all of Allstate so I could give 10% away. But it's nice to do it, and it's you're always trying to figure out how do you make your people happy, feel rewarding. So maybe I would build on that concept, and we do something called Energy for Life, where we want to be a purpose-driven company, but we believe to do that you have to be powered by purpose-driven people. So Energy for Life is a day-and-a-half program that we delivered over 22,000 people, which helps them figure out what their purpose is in life. And it's not about us, it's not about them. Might be I want to put my kid through school, might want to be I help my mother, might want to be I make a lot of money. But we let them decide, and they build a training program out of it. It has been the most valuable thing we've done, and I don't have any metrics on it. Like the metrics I have are the post course appraisal views, which are off the charts, but it's kind of positive selection. You don't take it if you don't really want to do it. But enabling your employees to have dignity, whether that's you share profits with them, you engage them in the business, you do work in the community. So that's one thing. And the other thing we do is with our local agency owners, we do agency hands in the community grants. We support nonprofits they want to do. And we're like low touch, like we don't like do a big review or anything. As long as it's a 503c1 and takes care of itself, we give the money. But the reason we do it is to motivate them, but also they become leaders in the community, not just insurance salespeople. So there is a purpose-related part to it that then translates back to us as a business. The U.S. Chamber, I've been working with Tom and Suzanne to try to figure out how do we get this message out to all businesses. Because most businesses, most of us were trained classically that profit is the only thing that matters, or that's job number one. And the reality is doing some of this stuff does cost you some profit. Like I just don't buy the fact that everything you do generates extra profit. I mean, giving away 10% of your profits doesn't create necessarily 12% more profits. Right? It's good for your company. It's what you want to do. It's what you believe. It's your purpose. And so we're trying to work to help people see that the role of business is beyond making money. It is about making society better, and that's why we are here.
Based on your feedback so far, I'm guessing it's too soon to have metrics on this also with the U.S. Chamber. What is your sense of the membership? Are they behind you on this? Are they skeptical? Are they thinking about it?
Well, Tom would know better than I would, but I'll give you my sense. And of course, it's sort of like selective perception. You know what that is. When you buy a red minivan, you never saw one till you leave the dealer, and then you see like 12 of them before you get to the first stoplight. So some of it is my own selective perception. I think people do it. I think businesses know they create prosperity. They do it every day, every city in the country. They know they employ people, and they want to do more of it. I think some of them feel not protected, don't feel safe, don't feel like they have the space to do that, and I think they're anxious to have that space. I think we have to figure out how to give them that safe space. And there are some who just don't believe it's right, right? But we don't have to get everybody. We just need a few more converts.
It's an intellectually defensible position, don't you think, that to say, no, I agree with the other way, that we should focus on profits, let's make money, and then let our shareholders do good things in the world if that's what they want to do with their money?
I think it's defensible. I think, it's the marketplace of ideas. And if that's what people want to do, then that's what they can do. We don't believe that. So we do get people who come to us and want to join a purpose-driven company. We get agency owners who do it. We get customers who come to us because of who we are, not just what we sell. That's our business model. Nothing wrong with the other one. I don't think it fully leverages your skills and capabilities, so it's not one I embrace, but I'm not judgmental about it. People should be able to do whatever they want in life.
Yeah, there's this line, we used it in our conference last week. It says beyond corporate social responsibility, CSR. I mean, we are all together here. Our employees, our customers, they really know if you mean it or not. And tomorrow's companies are going to be companies that whatever the social cause that they are involved, it needs to be in their DNA. And it needs to be going from the top all the way down. And they know it, and it's real. And once it's real, it's got no mixing with profit. You're faster, you have most talented people with you, you have reason, you go home happy. It just creates magic in the environment. Now, it can be done if a CEO, a startup, an entrepreneur really mean it, and it can start from the startup and takes over, because all of us, we take some projects every once in a while and we lead it. And then we don't leave it until it goes on the bottom. And we have responsibility. We have responsibility to our kids. We have responsibility to our people that work for us, work for the company. We have responsibility for the community. And if you look at the space of the business going forward, you know what's going to happen. The people are going to make decisions of what to buy, not to buy, what service to participate, not to participate, based on the company's real DNA. That's what's going to happen. Being in this room, talking about this, and being brave a little bit, and also seeing the results coming on. And I'm just going to jump to. I was with the Boston Consulting Group, one member of them, and said, if somebody make a study and the valuation of the company based on the company's real, interest in solving the social problem, it would be interesting to see what it does to the valuation of the company. Is it 14 times the EBITDA or 16 times the EBITDA? I bet if this is not today, in a few years, the company's involvement on solving a social problem or making the world a better place, just like Alan said, is going to impact the valuation tremendously. And how do we bring this to the boardrooms? And how do we bring this to the governors? And how do we change some of the law and say, creating profits, adding 2 lines, and I heard it in Bloomberg conference the other day, in long term. And if you add that, it really is not mixed with the profits. You're more profitable, you give it 10% or you don't. The main goal is, I'm going to build my business, I'm going to sell these services, I'm going to make profits. In the end, I'm going to world a better place. I mean, that's a magic combination.
I'd like to take your questions and also point out that this thing you just brought up is a structural issue that we can discuss and we will discuss in our working groups later this morning and this afternoon, because we need to take it a step further and have maybe even uncomfortable conversations. Sure. What laws should we have? What questions would you all like to ask of Tom and Hamdi? I'm not seeing any hands. I'm sure they'll come. Yes, right up here, please. Just wait for the mic, which is making its way to you. And please stand up and tell us who you are.
Gary Pincus, managing partner for McKinsey in North America. Hamdi, my question's for you. Tom, noted that you had the luxury of doing what you do because you're private. But my sense is you do have outside investors. And how did you bring them along for the journey? And did that affect what you were able to do in the positive sense, negative sense, or otherwise?
Sure. I think when somebody invests in your company, they already know by meeting with you and coming into your company's investors, they realize why you do what you do. I mean, personally, for me, it passed the money a long time ago. I mean, it just is not there. And then I have to be very real. And why would I wake up in the morning and go to the factory, keep making yogurt, and try to sell? And I've done it for 7 years. Why would I do that? It just doesn't make any sense. I don't have a money problem based on the calculation. So the passion that comes is that the only reason I'm doing this is because I want to exercise my capability. I want to exercise what else I can do in my, in my training. And most importantly, I want to know what can this do in the life of people's life and the society. And they buy into that. They come in and knowing that this is the reason why this company has done what it's done in the last 5 years is because of this type of things. And they would be crazy to say, no, I'm going to take that out, because then nobody has a reason to go to the work. And I think that's what they understand. And if we can show I think this is a magical question, is if we can show that getting involved and really mean it and what it does to the business, when it comes to talent, when it comes to the time saved, when it comes to speed, when it comes to innovation, and how does that impact the people and your profitability and performance, everybody will sign in.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to say, I was commenting that was really generous what Hamdi did. I did not mean to imply that he had an easier space because it's private. I think a lot of times public companies, we give ourselves the excuse of that's what shareholders demand. I think it's an excuse. I think you can deliver you can deliver good shareholder returns and do all this stuff. And I think so I don't think that it's easier for private companies than public companies. I think, like activists, I think, it's fine to have activists. There's some companies that need an activist in there and give them a kick in the butt, right? Someone's got to drive that return on capital. That said, I have found if you communicate to your shareholders and tell them what you're doing, most of them are reasonable. Not all of them believe in the measurement, but they'll give you the space as long as you get to some threshold. Like you can't get a 6% return on equity, but if you're in the zone, you're okay. They give you some space. So I think it's about having the intestinal fortitude of leaders to say, I can and must do this because it's right for the business, and I'm not just going to run hard for one measure.
There was a question back there, please. Yes, and the mic is right behind you. Please stand up.
Hi, Elise Nelson, President and CEO of Vital Voices Global Partnership. Tom, I wanted to ask you a question. You're one of the few corporate CEOs who's really taken on violence against women, domestic violence in particular, head on. And I wondered if you could talk about how you see that as an important business issue.
Yeah, so the first, and I know Adam wants to make sure we give you some ideas. So one of the things we do is we organize all of our officers to try to have an opportunity to be on nonprofits. So we say I think 65% of them today are leaders on nonprofit boards, and that starts to ingrain it into your company. And as a result of that, we started looking around and say, where's the white space? And domestic violence is a very ugly thing. 1 in 4 women are subject to domestic violence. Nobody wants to talk about it. Most of the money comes from government. So we went there because we thought it was an open market. We didn't actually know anything about domestic violence. What we found out is that money is a weapon of choice. Many perpetrators of domestic violence run up their wives' credit cards and stuff. I'm like, we know something about money. We can help in that. So we've now trained 1 million women on how to do that. That has, but we kind of bumbled into it. We went into it not because it was really related to our business. We just said it's a problem. It's a problem nobody's focused on. Let's just try to do it. It's turned out to be really good for us. It's helped us with regulators and legislators around the country. Didn't have it on our list when we got started doing it. You just find these things out.
Although if I could react, it sounds like having a structural way for your executives to be on nonprofits, just worded that way. You're not saying what nonprofits. That's a good business practice that acts as a force for good, but not a bad capitalist instinct either, right? Getting out into the community, identifying areas where the company can be helpful.
Yeah, we find, well, not only when we get them in leadership positions, then they get their team excited, and they want their team on there. And they come back better. Like, you know, at the very least, if they go work with a nonprofit, they come back thinking we're not so screwed up. And so, yeah, like that's the least you get out of it, right? The goodness is they feel like, oh, this was really good. I used my skills. I met some new people. They come back more motivated. They know how to move and collaborate differently. They know how to have constructive debate. So from our standpoint, think of it as training as well.
So very last question I'd like both of you to address briefly is, you brought up activists, Tom. You have investors. You have a private equity investor, Hamdi. These topics tend to be great when things are going well. We should give back. We should be generous. What is your philosophy around when things aren't going well? When a company is struggling, it's hard to have dignity when you're losing money, for example.
I mean, you know, for us it was easy, just like Tom said. We've been growing and making money, and then we had some issues. Mm-hmm. And I realized when I increased my involvement with issues and the things that we care a lot more during that time, and it becomes more powerful. And the cultures and really DNAs are built when the times are tough.
Yeah.
And in the good days, everybody's generous, everybody gives away, everybody does this. But in a tough time, can you still talk internally about what are we going to do about this school? What are we going to do about this hurricane? What are we going to do about this part of things? And I think if we trust that we're going to get out of this, if we trust in our capability and our team that we're going to make this happen, the smartest thing to do, I mean, we never hoped that those days, but smartest thing to do is invest in this type of things when the times are a little bit difficult. I see that when you come out of that, first, it helps to come out. The second is when you come out, the culture is a lot stronger at that time because you've proven that you're real during the tough time.
Tom?
Well, I agree with what Hamdi said. I think it's about his vision, it's about leadership, but it's also about embedding it into your organization so it has so many hooks into it that they couldn't really stop doing it. So this is, you know, like we all want to do this, and I want to make sure, like I don't plan on working my whole life, but I want to make sure that the organization I lead continues to do it. So I call it harpoons into the whale. You know, you throw the harpoon in and thing goes up and down and the boat stays attached to it. So what do? We have our agencies involved in it. We have our employees involved with it. I put officers on the board. I tie it to our purpose. I tie it to people's purpose. And so in the financial crisis, we're down $15 billion in the portfolio, and we kept funding the foundation. And what I've done along the way since then is I put a bunch of money in the foundation, so even if somebody in the future can't do it, if they end up with $15 billion down and they decide they don't have either the wisdom or the guts or the stupidity to do it, then the money will be there. So I think it's about, one of the things I think it's important for us to do as leaders is if you believe this, how do you institutionalize it so that if you're not there, if you're not the spark plug, that it's so embedded into the organization that it's going to go forward with or without you.
Gentlemen, I want to first say thank you for being here and sharing your stories, and secondly, thank you for showing that business can be a force for good. Thank you.
Thank you.